Yeah, we can go ahead and start.
Okay, so I'll just talk a little bit about myself real quick. Frank Hanley. I've had my background is I started with noticing winging the scapula back when I was about 18, and when I was around 30, I developed a foot drop, and I was diagnosed when I was around 30. Well, unofficially diagnosed with FSH then. The doctor told me it's not going to kill me, and there's no cure. So that's what I was left with that. And at the time, just to give you some color there was no internet. There's no really way to go look and research a lot of this stuff. The information wasn't available like that. So I went on it, and I already had a family. I just kind of went on with my life. I moved down to Maryland in 2010. I started going to the the MDA, the Muscular Dystrophy Association clinic at Johns Hopkins, and I did the genetic test there. So it was type 1 positive, came back. So the doctor there did a lot of other stuff. And so now it's really in my hips. I got a weak core. My hips are weak. Going upstairs is becoming a difficult task. Um, and I still have arm strength. Picking my arms up above my head, like most people, is difficult. Um, but I keep going. I guess that's my thing. I started doing, my whole thing with the FSH Society and doing these fitness programs is I've been practicing Kung Fu and Tai Chi and Qigong for years. I started practicing Kung Fu long before I ever heard of FSH. And I noticed that a lot of these exercises that I do with the Kung Fu forms and the Tai Chi breathing and such really helped me fight back against the disease, which is why I got with June, and we put together the Feeling Fit program. Um, so that's kind of that, how I got here, between the FSH and my involvement with being a kind of a wellness advocate for the community. So for the folks who are on there, I host an exercise program twice a month. It's called Feeling Fit with FSH, and that's on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, or Thursdays of the month. I'm sorry, noontime. Um, so I titled this talk "Things I Wish Someone Told Me When I Was 30." Because, like I said, there was no internet at the time, and there was really not a lot of guidance from the doctors and stuff. And actually, when the doctor did tell me what the FSH, and told me that, that was kind of it. Like I said, I really didn't have a lot of, and I didn't know what questions to ask either. So, like a lot of the information that's available to you folks younger, I'm assuming everyone is way younger than me, in the group here, is learn as much as you can and do as much as you can being younger, because you're going to turn around and when you're 60 and say, I should have done more when I was 30. So I'll give you that as kind of some wisdom. I started, I'll talk about the doctor at Johns Hopkins because that's kind of where the journey started. I went to the neurologist at Johns Hopkins, the MDA clinic. I had seen him a couple of times. And one time I went, and just in the matter of us talking, he asked me if I was waking up with headaches. And I said, as a matter of fact, I was waking up with headaches. So he suspected that the FSH was weakening my diaphragm, which was causing me not to breathe fully, especially in the evening. So I wasn't exhaling completely. I was retaining carbon dioxide, and I was waking up with the headaches. So he wanted me to take a breathing test, which I did. But in the meantime, I went back to my Kung Fu teacher and I told him this, and we started doing a lot of breathing exercises. So my point with that whole story is, if you do nothing else, you need to breathe. And and if you when you stop breathing, you're not going to last too much longer. And if you think about breathing, if you think about the things you need to survive, there's the top four that I have are food, water, shelter, and air. And if you think about those four things, how long can you survive without food? About 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. How long can you survive without water? A couple, 3 days. How long can you survive without shelter? Depending on how hot or cold it is out, a few hours. How long can you survive without air? A couple of minutes. So I think, out of the four, breathing is way up there on as a priority. So if you can, again, a lot of us are, this disease is really weird. It's really nasty because it affects everyone differently. I'm lucky. I consider myself lucky because I have a mild case. I'm almost 70 and I'm still able to walk where, Zach, people we meet at some of these meetings are in their 20s and they're in wheelchairs already. Um, so if you can do nothing else, you can breathe and you can practice breathing exercises to keep your diaphragm strong. And that's mostly what I started teaching with Feeling Fit was just breathing. And then we got into doing some Tai Chi movements for walking and stepping and helping people with their balance. And it kind of morphed out from there. So again, the importance of breathing and just doing breathing exercises. I do breathing exercises every night. Sometimes I do them in the morning. Most times I do them at night before I go to bed. And if you want information on that, I'll just pitch again the Feeling Fit. I don't know if your folks in your group here go to the FSHD Society's YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel are pretty much every video that I've done on the Feeling Fit, and I do all breathing exercises there. We do Tai Chi there. We do a lot of, there's people doing yoga. We had an aquatics expert on talking about doing aquatic exercises. So there's a wealth of information out there. I'll just pitch that while I have the opportunity. Like I said, secondly, working the legs. If you're able to get in the gym and do exercises, even if you don't even need the gym, if you're at home, you can do cycling, you can walk. We had a big discussion not long ago about using walking poles to help walk, to keep you up and out, being able to walk. And they especially help on odd terrains. I live at the beach. I can't go on the beach because I can't walk in the sand. Kind of a silly thing I did was move to the beach, and I can't get to the ocean because I can't walk on the sand without somebody helping me do that. Cycling, doing squats, doing, just standing and sitting out of a chair, doing those type of exercises for your legs, stretching your hips, staying, working with the mobility. Because the other thing you really want to keep strong is your legs. And if you're able to do that, I'd say get into a habit of doing leg exercises, toe lifts for your calves, and squats or some kind of exercises, and extensions for your hamstrings. So you need like a full leg workout to do that. The other biggest thing that I can tell people is to find an exercise that you like to do, find an interest that's physical that you like to do, and pursue it. For me, it was martial arts. I always wanted to do martial arts, and that's what I ended up doing most of the time. And I carried that into adulthood. I did it when I was younger. I stopped for a few years when I had my family, and then I picked it up again about 14, 15 years ago. And I just picked it up, and that's when I had the most time to be able to do it. When I was doing it when I was younger and I had the kids, it was on and off because we always had something going on with the kids, so that made it difficult to at least get to class. And now you've got the benefit of YouTube, where you could pretty much Google or YouTube search any type of exercise and find a bajillion videos on it. And I will warn you that there's a lot of junk out there, so be careful what ones you do follow. But So find something you like. That's the second biggest piece of advice I said. Work on your breathing. Actually, third, keep your legs strong, and find an exercise that you like to do that supports that and you enjoy. Because if you're doing something you don't like, you're not going to do it. You'll always find an excuse, or later, tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I don't feel like it today. My thing with my exercises is even if I can't do the full regimen, which usually takes me about a half hour in the morning. If I only have 10 minutes, I'll do 10 minutes because I every day I do something. It's when I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow you do it tomorrow, and then you end up not doing it, and you get out of it real quick. Find a buddy, find a partner, your wife, your kids, anybody that you can partner up with to work with for support. That's another thing that's very important, to have somebody who's kind of kicking you in the butt and to keep you moving all the time. I've got multiple people that are always, I got 4 kids who are always on my case. My wife's on my case. My chiropractor is on my case. The lady that does PT with me is always on my case about, keep doing the exercises. The other one that I really, really like is swimming or being in the water. A pool, the buoyancy. I don't know about you guys. That's as high as I can lift my arms. I don't know if you can even see it. Um, that's as high as I can lift my arms and hold them. I've got range of motion where I can get my arm up above my head. But in a pool, if I'm neck deep in water, I can float my arm up to where it's straight out. So the buoyancy helps keep you float you, and it helps you with your movements. And plus the resistance of the water, if you just cup your hand and move your arm back and forth, the resistance creates a really good workout. I like practicing my kung fu in a pool because the water provides some kind of resistance for that.
A
And like
couple
I
of
mentioned, I'm sorry.
a couple of questions real quick. So
Okay.
it sounds like you've been very active for a long time. Have there been any periods where you thought you did too much, where it's actually having negative effects on you?
Um, that I did too much as far as hurting myself, or
Yeah, like too much exercise, so it had negative effects instead of positive.
not really. I find now that I get fatigued quicker than I did years ago, but I never really did anything stupid in quotes, where I lifted too much weight, or um, I tried something like a back handspring that I was never trained to do. I've always had common sense, and I guess that's a good thing to have, is to do things in moderation and try it out slow. And most of my stuff was done with a trainer, if you will, a kung fu instructor, a tai chi instructor, or people who've been doing it for a long time, who are not going to make you do or put you in harm's way. I mean, the kung fu, I'm sure when you hear that, you think of, these movies where these guys are fighting and throwing spears at each other and everything else, where I've never done any fighting with it. I've always done just the forms because that's where I get the most benefit. And I made it clear to my teachers, given my situation, that that's not why I was here. I went to one school and that was their thing. They were a fighting school, and I said, nope, not for me. So you got to be smart. You got to protect yourself, because other people don't understand what's going on. You might look perfectly normal to somebody, depending on the severity of the disease. People look at me, they don't realize that until I stand up and they see my leg brace, and then they, but I'm sitting at a table eating with somebody, they don't really know that I've got a debilitating disease. So, does that answer your question?
Hmm. And it sounds like there that you'd recommend kind of starting with a coach when picking up a new activity, just so they can.
Starting, yeah. Again, it depends on what you're doing. But if you're going to the gym, you may want to get somebody to help you out with weights. I'm going to talk about free weights and gym strength training in a minute. But yeah, I would get a coach. Talk to your doctor. They might be able to give you an idea of what what some good starting exercises are. A PT will give you a great set of starting exercises if you go to a physical therapist. If you go to, I'll just tell you this: if you go to neurologist, ask your neurologist to write your PT script for whatever you want to do. You want to work on your legs, you want to work on your shoulders, and they'd be happy to do it for you because it doesn't cost them anything to write you a script. It's up to you to go. So, I mean, and out of pocket, I think, depending on your copay, you're going to pay something. But so you go a few times, you get some ideas on a kind of a workout to do, and then you can just do it on your own. It doesn't cost a lot to do that. And that's really expert instruction because most people, physical therapists, have to be licensed. They've got, they've got a lot of
Mm.
education and then licensing. To go through to get to where they are. So they're not going to give you bad stuff. I've been to few, more like five different physical therapists, and they've always gave me the right stuff. So, and if you can't do it, okay, you scratched off the list. So it's easy for you to just make it, and over time you can create an inventory of exercises and activities that you might like to do. Throwing a frisbee, bowling. I mean, bowling might be a tough one, but again, it depends on your physical condition. I wouldn't go out doing soccer or stuff like that, where it's very because that requires a lot of training just to be able to get out there and run for that period of time. But softball, basketball, those types of sports are still doable for some of us. So that answer that?
Mm, that's
Okay.
good.
Do Marina or Nicole have any questions while we're taking a question break here? I'm just going to take a sip of water.
And if you have questions that you don't want to say aloud, feel free to put them in the chat and we can pick them up
Yeah,
on.
the chat's a good place to put stuff. Okay. I was just talking about the PT or the doctor. So again, I go to Duke University for to the MDA clinic there. I The only reason I go there is because the doctors in South Carolina, because I moved from South Carolina to North Carolina a few years ago. When I moved here, the doctors were in South Carolina. I needed a North Carolina disability thing for my car, and they wouldn't sign the paperwork. So I ended up going up to Duke because I wanted to get into the MDA clinic up there anyway. And the doctors there are really, really I mean, I actually emailed them or through their my chart or what they call that thing. Said, hey, can you write me a script for my shoulders, so I can get some shoulder exercises. And I had it in a day. So ask, if you don't ask, I mean, the worst thing they could say is no, they don't do that. But most doctors will write you a script because I said it's nothing for them. And it's up to you to go out and do it. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about was range of motion. Just real quick, range of motion was something I kind of stumbled over when I was doing PT early on, as far as being able to how far can you actually move versus with or without, because we all have trouble, or at least I have trouble. Um, that's as high as I can get my hand, and we've all heard the stories of washing your hair, getting a cup off the shelf, that kind of stuff. But I can still throw my arm up above my head. So I've got range of motion. I just don't have the strength to hold my arm up there. So that's something else that you should have a physical therapist check for you is your range of motion, whether you actually got, I mean, I could probably go 85, 90% in the range of motion versus, someone else might have, your shoulder is more frozen than mine is or whatever. So that goes hand in hand with the next thing is, well, I'll talk about weightlifting, strength training. Back when I started going to the neurologist at Hopkins, he was dead set: do not go in the gym, do not lift weights. because the thinking is that you break down the muscle and it doesn't recover because of the disease. But well, that's maybe the muscles that the disease is prevalent in, but what about the rest of you? So that's where I kind of threw that out the window. And I usually, I haven't been lately because I've been traveling, but I'm usually in the gym 3 days a week lifting weights. I don't lift heavy, but I lift weights because I need to keep strong. And I do notice if I go for a month and I'm saying I'm doing 50-pound pull downs, if I stop for any period of time, a couple of weeks, I have to start over again and drop the weight down and start over again. So you do lose the strength really quickly, but you'll also build it up pretty fast also. Um, I do I do a full set, so I do lat pull downs. I do front and rear pull downs, right? You know, a lat machine. I do rowing. I do bench presses. I do leg presses, and I do shrugs with dumbbells. I do curls with dumbbells. So I pretty much work all the muscle groups, and I do reverse crunches, I don't want to call it, I call it a seated deadlift because it's kind of like a deadlift, but I can't do a deadlift because my core is weak lifting straight up. But if I'm seated, I kind of take the rowing machine and lean back and forward. So I pivot at the waist. I'm doing that, and that works the abdominals and the erector muscles in the back. Um, so if you're going to lift weights or you're going to try lifting weights, my advice is to start with a really low weight and just do high reps. So if let's say it's 10 pounds and you do um, instead of doing a set of 10, you do a set of 20. So do 3 sets of 20 with a really low weight, and do that for at least a month, maybe 2 months, to help you develop the muscle memory, and that just gets your muscles and your body and your brain used to doing that exercise, and then start to increase the weight and decrease the number of reps. So I'll go and I'll usually do like a pull down. I'll do a 50-pound pull down. I'll do 15 reps. I'll do 3 sets. Um, and then I'll do a bench press. I'll do a 50-pound bench press. I'll do maybe 10 reps for 3 sets. And I vary the weight depending. And sometimes I adjust the bench so I'm not flat. I'm on an incline. That takes it off the chest and moves it up into the shoulders a little bit. So again, you do different exercises in the gym, and you figure out which ones you like and which ones you feel. The cool thing is that, and the interesting thing is that when I do arm exercises, I feel it the next day. So I know there's some breakdown and there's some healing going on in my arms. Same thing in my shoulders and in my thighs. Some of the other exercises, I'm just going through the motions. I rarely feel sore after. I feel tired, but I don't feel sore. So the muscles aren't getting the benefit of it that as some of the other muscles are. Um, I'll advise you to not use free weights. I advise you to use a machine weight where it's on a rack versus you just using free weights, because my fear is, like, I do a free weight bench press, but I've got somebody there spotting for me, keeping an eye, because if you can't get it up or you something slips or something that happens, and a dumbbell, it could slip out of your hand, and if you're got it up above your head, you're going to have a nice lump on your head if you happen to drop the dumbbell, or on your foot. So it's safer to use the machines than it is to use free weights. Um, a place to go look, and I don't know if it's still free or not. I haven't been on there in a while. Arnold Schwarzenegger has an app called The Pump. And in that app, he's got videos of every weightlifting exercise you could ever think of. So if you can get a subscription to that, maybe there's like a 10-day free sign up, and just go through and watch the videos and get some ideas on what, and then just write the name down, and then Google it, and you'll get 50 YouTube versions of it that you can get. So again, find what you like. and then stick with it. I've got mine pretty mapped out, the exercises that I like to do in the gym. And I'm there for usually an hour and a half. It's not like I do a fast workout. I take my time. I rest a little between sets. I vary the sequence I do them every time. Sometimes I'll do something, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll add something, sometimes I'll drop out something. So again, your variety, and that keeps your body kind of off balance too. Because if you're doing the same things over and over again, you just get used to it. Even increasing the weight. So throw a new exercise in once in a while is always a good thing to do. Um, any questions on strength training, free weights? You're not gonna become, Mr. Atlas in doing it. There's a limit. I'm stuck at 70 pounds on the bench press for 2 years. So that my goal is to do 100, but I don't think I'm ever going to get there. I keep trying, but I'm just stuck at 70 pounds. So that's the limit. That's the limit. I'll just keep adding more sets and I'll do variations on it. But that's kind of the thing. So don't be frustrated, and don't be frustrated if you can't do something. Find something else, because you can't do all of it if you're not capable. You might not have the hand strength. You might not have the balance. We all have our own issues. So um, just be aware of that also. Um,
So it sounds like you kind of target everything. Would you say that to some extent you put more or less emphasis on the muscles that are more affected?
yeah, but I try to keep um, I try to keep the same thing, even if they're the ones that aren't. Like, for instance, a shrug. I'll take a 20-pound dumbbell and I'll just do a simple shrug. Um, I could do a million of them and I never get sore because it's not doing anything other than I'm able to shrug with 20 pounds. I'm not building the muscle. I'm not breaking it down. So that's one muscle where I feel like about, I'm not going to get any more, and I'm not going to go over 20. That's the limit. So the ones that I don't feel are I'm getting the muscle soreness, it's kind of just going through the motions. But I go through the motions to keep the flexibility, right? If you're not moving that, you're gonna, and I do a lot of neck exercises too, not even with weights, just looking side to side, up and down, touch your ear, just to keep your neck, because you got everything runs through your neck, all your nerves and everything are running in your neck. So to keep that flexible, I just do a whole, bunch of different neck exercises, and there's no weights or anything like that. There's a question there. Do I do exercises by myself? Yes, I do them by myself, Nicole. I do them by myself, but there are always other people around. So I'm not worried about getting, getting stuck under the weight or anything like that. I just always make sure. And if there is no one around, then there's certain things I won't do that day. Again, you just have to use your head and be smart. Okay, in doing them the wrong way, if it's hard to do something the wrong way when the weight's on a string, like I said, I use the machines. I don't use free weights. So if I feel like something's wrong, you just let go, and the machine goes back to itself. And so getting hurt, you really have to go out of your way to get hurt using a machine. That's why I suggested you use machines and not free weights. The, Again, with the dumbbells, you might slip out of your hand. It lands on your foot. It lands on your finger. That's where you're going to get hurt. So it's just like I said, find out, do it, do things simply up to start, and then build it from there. Okay. Thank you for that question. Does that answer that? Give me a thumbs up in the. Oh, all right. Cool. Excellent. What else do I have here? Um, what else do you need to know, Zach? I kind of hit all my points here. or we want to have a little chit chat. I mean, what do you do? Do you do exercises? I'll throw the ball to you.
I had the fusion surgery earlier this year, so it's been light since a
Okay.
few months ago. But aside from that, yeah, I do a mix of cardio and some resistance too.
Okay. Good. Yeah, cardio. I used to love riding I don't do good on a recumbent, but I liked riding a regular stationary bike. But the gym here doesn't have one that has the controls on it where you got all the, how far you went and everything. You just have it's like a Peloton without the computer on it. So you just pedal infinitely and you really don't have any feedback as far as what you're doing. But that was another thing I enjoyed doing also.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got one like that, and then the place I'm in has a rowing machine, um, and then a treadmill. So
a
that's
rowing machine, is that what you said?
mm.
Oh, okay.
So those are the cardio things I do currently. I've heard a lot of people like.
Cardio,
Oh, go
say
ahead.
again?
I was just gonna say I've heard a lot of people like swimming, but I don't usually do that at this point.
All right, all right. How about the other folks? Anything you like to do, you don't like to do? Anything you want to share? Please do. So we had a really good conversation while people were thinking about. We had a really good conversation a couple of sessions ago about walking and using the walking poles because we were talking about traveling and going to places where there may not be as um, have the accessibility that we would expect, and or even in Europe where they've got a lot of cobblestone and uneven pavement and steps and difficult to places where it's difficult to maneuver. And one of the suggestions, one of the people that was on the call chimed in and started talking about using the walking poles, well, like ski poles, but and they're collapsible and everything else. And all of a sudden, like five other people, oh yeah, I do that too, and it just developed into this really interesting conversation about people using these poles. Um, I bought them, but I never used them. I want to try them out because we're going on another trip to Europe shortly, and I want to get used to using them. So yes, all right. So Nicole is I like to walk. I've been hips are weak and no, so now we're going for another cardio. Yeah, the poles. Well, the poles. The hips are are a real bad place to get the um, the FSH because it's just my hips tightened up so where I can't hardly lift my leg to get up this a step anymore. So that's driven out of the hip a little bit also. So but yeah, so other like well we're talking about cardio right now. So there's the rowing. Is that exactly you said you did rowing, the
Mm.
treadmill and the
Stationary
bicycle.
bike.
Okay, just stationary bike. So there's a couple of options that you might want to try. Um, and the other one, like I said, is getting a pool if you're in. You said you're in Vancouver, so I don't know how unless you have indoor pool up there you can use to be able to uh, walk in the pool. That way you've got the buoyancy and you don't have the it kind of eliminates gravity from the equation. And I always say that the FSH makes us weak, gravity makes us fall. It's not anything. So if you can take gravity out of the equation, it makes it easier for you to maneuver around. I was on a call with God, I forget who it was with, and the speaker was a physical therapist or neurologist. I'm not sure which now, but she made the comment about the plane of gravity, like this space where you can operate easily, where you're not lifting and you're not bending. So it's kind of like the countertop. It's like that plane where you can maneuver easily without having to strain above your head or bend below. So I just thought it was an interesting phrase that she used. because that plane for us might be very narrow. You know, how wide that plane is depends on how maneuverable you are. So
You
it's a, well,
you
I don't know.
mentioned you mentioned at least for your legs, you've used an orthotic. Do you use any during exercise, or do you do those without?
I wear it when I'm doing everything except for legs. I take it off when I'm doing the leg press because I need to be able to maneuver my ankle a little bit, and that, um, and I try to, yeah, well, because most of the other exercises I'm doing, I'm sitting. I'm sitting doing the pull downs. So, actually, I'm standing when I do. Let me think. When I do shrugs and I do side bends, um, standing. So I have I need the brace there, but the other exercises, pretty much all the other exercises, I'm seated. And the leg press, I take the brace off because I need to be able to have full range of motion in my leg, and that limits because I've got the noodle. I don't know, you guys where I got the noodle, so you know this doesn't let me flex my ankle. Flex that my foot forward, like I can't step on the gas pedal, kind of a thing. So um, that kind of limits the on the leg press. So I just take it off. It's more comfortable to do that way. Good questions. Good
And what
question.
about facial exercises? I think I've heard you speak on those a little bit before.
Yeah, I
Mm.
somebody once in one of the sessions asked me about doing exercises for the face. So I basically went back to the physical therapist I was working with at the time, and she gave me a whole bunch of them to do. So I did them. Yeah, check the video. I don't want to go through them now. They're kind of funny. But I did them for the face. So it's really opening and closing the mouth to work the jaw. Um, Open and close and side to side. Um, Blinking, right? Smiling, opening your mouth real wide and closing it real tight. But don't break a tooth, but and don't smash your teeth down and don't grind them, but get a good bite and then bite really hard. And then I started doing because I was a spin-off of the neck exercises was exercises just for the eyes. So if you wanted to just do that, I mean, the neck exercises, the three that I do all the time are to look left and right as far as you can, to the left, and then look to the right as far as you can, keeping everything else stable. And then keeping your eyes centered as you turn your head. And then when you get all the way to the right, I'm looking to the right now, then let your eyes move to the corner. So you're looking behind you. And then when you come back, move your eyes back to center and then move your head back to center. So you're exercising your neck, you're getting the neck stretch, and you're also exercising your eyes, moving them from the center to the corner and back. And then the opposite way. Um, Stretching, touching your ear to your shoulder. And I do these um, probably 10 or 15, 20 repetitions when I do them. So the side to side with the neck is just a nice slow turn from one side or the other. Then touch your ear. You get that tension on the outside of your neck, and then back the other way. And then the other one is to take your chin and push your chin down into your chest, where it stretches out the back of your neck, the traps and the muscles in the back of your neck, to push your head into your chest, your chin into your chest. And then when you look up, don't crimp your neck back, but push your chin out like a turtle looking out of its shell. So you really want to stretch your neck up, stretch this way, not bending your head back and crimping, but pushing your head, like I said, the best analogy is a turtle looking out of the shell. So those ones I like to use a lot. And then the eyes is just sitting completely still and just moving your eyes from left to right and then up and down and then corner to corner, like making an X with your eyes. So it's just really a good exercise. You might get dizzy doing that, so be careful. Be seated when you do it. Don't do it when you're driving, because some people get dizzy when they do these the eye exercises. So just be careful with those. But yeah, and again, if you want more information on these, just type in Google FSHD Frank, and you'll get all the FSHD videos that we've done on that I've done on feeling fit. Uh, well, they're all on YouTube. So, and then even the other ones that we did were for the hands. Um, just simply stretching your fingers out all as far as you can, stretch them out, and then just making a fist as tight as you can. Just for your hand exercises, your wrist, um, bending your wrist down and back, flexing front to back, and then flexing like a tomahawk chop. So any of these little things you can do, you're sitting in the car, do swirls, making circles with your wrist, up and down, chop. There's a bunch of those, and the stretch, tighten. That real quick. Good
And
exercises for your hands.
in total, how much time would you estimate you spend, like in an average day, on all of these?
Probably 2 hours. I do breathing, Tai Chi, Kung Fu in the morning for about a half hour, and sometimes in a half hour in the evening. And then the other days I do an hour and a half in the gym when I go to the gym doing a workout. And then on an off, not an off day, but I teach I teach Tai Chi in the development I live in, the community. We have a community center, and I just do it as a volunteer thing. It's free for anybody that wants to show up. So that's an hour a week too. So I would guess I put in about 10, 12 hours a week doing exercises. And on Saturdays, I hook up, we do a Zoom call with the guys I used to practice Kung Fu with up in Maryland. We do a Zoom call. We do an hour of forms together just to remind ourselves of how we're supposed to do them. It's kind of like because we forget a lot. We're a bunch of old guys. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to be crazy like I am. I do it because I do these sessions. I do the this is my third one this month. We did fall prevention this one, and I've got another one coming up, FS University, talking about fall prevention too. And then we'll do another feeling fit in October, which is a follow up to the fall prevention we just did. And the fall prevention was all pretty much Tai Chi exercises. Because Tai Chi is, if folks are not familiar with that, it's a lot of stepping and a lot of balance and coordination because you are, with Tai Chi stepping, you don't. So when we walk the way we've learned to walk, our energy, our weight is always up high. It's in our shoulders, it's in our head. So when you stumble, when you grab a carpet with your foot or whatever, you're already moving forward. So that's why we fall, is because we just don't walk the right way. And doing Tai Chi stepping, you keep your weight on the back foot as you send that front foot out, kind of like an ant with the feelers. And if you're going to hit anything, you're going to hit it, but you're not moving forward because the weight's still on your back leg. And then you put that front foot down, shift the weight into the front foot, and bring the back foot forward. So it's a different way of stepping. And the reason I teach that a lot is because people fall in the house. You many falls occur when people are home because your guard is down. You're in your space. You're comfortable. You're thinking about other things. My story is that my neighbor was doing her dishes in the kitchen, forgot the dishwasher door was open, turned around, fell over the dishwasher door, and broke her hip. So because she wasn't mindful of where she was, and when she turned, she wasn't looking. And her weight was over there already before she could do anything about it. Her weight was way over there. She had done the Tai Chi stepping. Her step foot would have hit the door and it would have set off there. And she didn't look either. That didn't help. That she wasn't paying attention. So, but So that's the kind of stuff we do. I'm just trying to pitch people to come on my show too. But that's the kind of stuff we do because people, we're not getting any younger, and we've got the disease on top of that um, to fight with. So it's real easy. I don't know about you and the folks on here, but I lose my balance for no apparent reason. I will be standing perfectly still, and all of a sudden I'll wobble one way or the other. I have because of a weak core. That's the only thing I can attribute it to, is that I just lose my balance. My energy goes one way and I'm going another. And I also was talking about it the other day, is that when I want to step, and it might be just an age thing, is if I want to step, I send the signal like, okay, left foot, step, and it doesn't move. It's like a delayed reaction. So I'm moving, I'm expecting to move, and my leg's not moving yet. So that's just something I think what goes with the degeneration of the muscles and the neuropaths down there. There's like a delay getting from my head down to my foot these days. So I don't know. Any other questions about exercising? We're getting towards the end here. I don't know. Is an hour good, Zach? I was planning on an hour.
Yeah, that's typically what we do. I'll get on
All right,
questions from
cool.
me, Marina and Nicole. Do you have any
Say
other?
again?
I was just asking Marina and Nicole if they have any others.
Oh, okay. Any other questions from the folks out in Neverland? They're both very quiet. They've got no video and no audio.
All
Thank you,
right,
Nicole. I appreciate you coming. Will you
cool.
be in Chicago this year, Jack? You're gonna go? You planning on it?
I'll have to see. I'll have a couple of. Oh, I always have a work trip like right before that, so it depends
Got it.
on how that aligns. But
Yeah, I'm hoping to go this year. I didn't get there last year. It's very weather dependent for me. I don't like going from 70 degrees to 10 below up in Chicago.
yeah,
I don't. It's a tough. But the thing is, the funny thing is I go into the airport here in Wilmington, and I don't come outside again until I'm in the airport in Wilmington, because you get on a plane, you get over to Chicago, everything's underground, so it's like, it's, but it's just that sometimes it's when people open the door, you're like, wow, it's really cold now. But
Mhm.
anyway, okay, I don't have anything else. Any other questions, real quick? I can call it a night, or unless you've got this anything else going on, Zach. I'll turn the microphone back over to you.
Yeah, looks like we're good on the questions, but really appreciate you checking out, or you speaking to everybody, and if people want to check out your channel, just again, Feeling Fit on the YouTube channel. You've
Yeah,
done that for how long now?
we're actually just started the fourth year.
Okay, so quite a few videos
Yeah,
then.
yeah. So we've been doing it, and so it's two. I don't do every session. There's other people that help out. Um, right now, there's two ladies that do a lot of yoga, chair yoga. I do a variety of things. I try to change it up from time to time. I'm doing fall prevention now, and I might do a little breathing before the holidays because people need to just, you get a lot of anxiety going on at the holidays. So we'll do a little calming breathing exercises for that. But anyway, thank you again. I appreciate your invite. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can probably ping Zach and he'll forward your email to me. Or you can actually, I've got a website. If you guys want to check it out, it's frankhanley.com. And I've got a lot of stuff going on out there too. So thank you for coming. Thank you for the invite, Zach. I appreciate it.
Yep. Really appreciate you taking the time.